Colwood.
names.
Trustee Colwood.
Here.
Trustee
Present.
Dorsey. Absent. Trustee Liger.
Yes, I'm here.
Trustee McDonald. Absent. Ex officio member Cindy Richardson. Absent. Trustee
Present.
Russ. Present. Oh, I'm sorry. Present. Trustee Russell.
Present.
Trustee Smith.
Present.
Trustee Barry.
Present.
6 present. And 1 absent. And 2 absent, I'm sorry. We have a quorum with 5 members present. Trustees present.
Okay, could we move to the next item on the agenda, please? That's comments and suggestions from retirees. Are there any?
I don't know. I have to ask Mr. If anyone is in the waiting room.
There are 2 retirees in. There's Sidney Richardson and Susan Clarkson.
Okay, so would you have to let them in to see if they have any suggestions or comments?
They're in their room right now.
Okay, so to the retirees on the call, we are at the point in the agenda where we accept comments and suggestions from retirees. So do either of you have any to offer at this point? And they're both on mute.
Quick correction on my part. Ms. Richardson is the acting director of personnel. So we have one, the Susan Clarkson.
Okay. Could you find out whether she has a comment or suggestion or?
Isn't she the reporter for the Daily News?
Yes, I'm the reporter for the Daily News. I have no comment.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move to the next item on the agenda. Secretary's minutes. Mr. Nibbs.
Call. Approve or disapprove? Motion, we need a motion.
Motion to,
There are 3 sets of minutes. We have June 17 minutes, we have the July 29 minutes, and we have the August 26 minutes. So there are 3 sets of minutes to be approved. So we need, I don't know if you're looking for 3 separate motions, but there are 3 sets of minutes to be approved.
Well, Mr. Chair, you may want to inquire if any of the trustees have any objections to any of the minutes. And then if not, then you could do them all at one time.
okay, that's a good idea. So any objections, any comments, any corrections from any of the board members from any of the minutes?
I don't have any.
I abstained since I wasn't present for those meetings.
Okay. Any other board members?
I haven't reviewed the minutes. I haven't had an opportunity to review them. If I attended a meeting, I would, I need to look at them. Could we pass an approval of the minutes and go to another part of the agenda until I read some of those minutes?
Okay. We could come back to that.
Yeah, because I think I attended 1 or 2 of those meetings, and I need to read through the minutes before I make a motion to adopt them.
Okay. Any board members have any objections to that?
None.
No, I don't.
Okay, so, all right, so we'll go to the next item on the agenda. Trustee Watson, which is communications and correspondences.
First piece of correspondence was a letter dated August 31 from the legislature of the Virgin Islands, from Senator Valley as chairman of the Committee on Finance, and it had to do with a bill number 340099, which was introduced by Senator Dwayne McGrath. It had to do with amending the I Code, Chapter 25, Section 530G, and Chapter 27, Section 705C, relating to the mandatory retirement age of police officers, firefighters, prison guards, to change mandatory retirement age from 55 to 63. They requested our input in regards to support of disadvantages or advantages, economic impact, and recommendation to the bill. Was supposed to have provided written testimony on September 13th. This bill was, we were advised this bill was tabled, so we did not submit any testimony. And the hearing was postponed. Next piece of correspondence dated August 3rd.
Could I comment on that correspondence, Mr. Chair, because it would be in our best interest to address tabling that bill as we think about the funding sources from the legislature. And since the bill was postponed, it might give us an opportunity to offer a more comprehensive amendment to the bill. And I think at some time we should discuss it, because what is being proposed is to correct some of the mistakes the legislature made along, the GERS history. And if we propose amendments to this bill, might be the best way to approach getting legislation before.
Morning.
So I'd like to discuss that letter at a later date, Mr. Chair, when we addressing issues to solve the insolvency.
Okay,
May I add, Mr. Chairman,
yes,
from what I understand, when I spoke to Senator McGrath,
fix this after.
when I spoke to Senator McGrath on Monday at the subcommittee meeting, he said he pulled these things back because they wanted to further discuss them in, I guess, their own subcommittee. I know that they have a meeting tomorrow to discuss certain things. But also I sent this bill to, I understand what Senator Trustee Russell is saying. I agreed with him, but I'd send this bill to the actuary to do an impact for me, and he said it's really nil. I mean, Kathy can voice her opinion on that also, but he's saying that it wouldn't provide any impact to the insolvency.
I think if I understand Trustee Russell's position, I think what I hear him saying is that instead of simply responding to the bill as proposed, that we use the opportunity to propose something else,
Yes,
propose alternative.
yes, and alternatives that could solve some of the discrepancies in legislation regarding the retirement age, regarding a lot of issues that have been brought up over the years. And since you have an inroad with a bill that is proposing a change, we could use that inroad to suggest some of the changes that are absolutely necessary to help the system. Okay, that's what and so you're right, Chairman Bowie. I think we got to use the opportunity.
I agree with you. I agree with that position, Trustee Russell, and so as you understand it, Mr. Nibbs, is he planning to bring it back?
That's my understanding. This, I guess, you've been in the meetings, you see the dynamics. I think, he did say they're gonna review it and bring it back in some other form.
Okay, so I agree with you, Trustee Russell, notwithstanding the limitations of that bill, that we use the opportunity of the hearing to make any case we want to make for a comprehensive approach to funding. I think every opportunity we get, we should be driving that issue home. And so what I'd like then is when the bill comes back, Mr. Nibbs, or maybe any future bills, that we adopt that approach, notwithstanding what the bill is asking for, that we use the opportunity of whether the testimony, written or oral, to drive home or main point that we need to address this funding thing comprehensively. So when next that comes up, and we ask for response, in addition to responding to this, we should use the opportunity to broaden the response to the common insolvency.
Okay, agreed.
Okay.
Next piece of correspondence dated August 31, 2021. It's from Senator Genevieve Whitaker. She requested a meeting.
Testing? Hello?
They have restrictions.
That's Mr. Dorsey. I don't know what he's doing.
I'm hearing him. I'm not sure if any.
Are you hearing us, Mr. Dorsey?
There's my handwriting.
Why is he touching this?
Who's my hand?
Can I go inside, Mr. Moses?
Hello?
Yes.
Ms. Hassel, mute.
But I don't know who put it on mute. He's touching, it was not on mute before.
Can you hear me now?
I can
Can you hear me now?
I'm not sure if you hear me, but I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Dorsey.
Let's give Mr. Nibbs an opportunity to clear that.
Okay, I think he said he's hearing us, and he asked me if I'm hearing him. I said yes.
Okay.
But
Mr. Dorsey, are you hearing us? Mr. Dorsey? He's apparently not hearing.
But I got to go into Canaan law, and everything that's sent from the court, I got to use this computer because I'm using this one for documents.
are you hearing us? Because
No,
what?
not hearing you.
We're hearing you.
Not hearing
What
you.
did you touch?
This one.
No, you're not. Because it was.
In some
Are you hearing, Mr. Bowie, you hearing us?
Yes,
I'm
we can
here.
hear you, Mr. Nibbs.
Yes.
Keenan, stay there.
How much, Jack? I don't know what, touch something.
I touched something.
It was okay. It was said to you. Already said
Why
to
do you
you.
need to,
Tell me to
you
hit the
need to
button.
mute your phone?
Trustee Watson,
This one.
Privacy?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have some conflicting schedules. I will have to leave the meeting at 10 to attend Judge Andrews' hearing, and at 11, I have to attend a hearing with Judge Watlington. So I am going to be on mute.
Hit it. So I figured it was off.
So I just want to alert the other trustees, the administration, and the members of the retirees that I have to attend these hearings. So I wouldn't be in our meeting at that time, but I would announce when I'm coming back and when I'm leaving.
okay.
Cool.
Okay, so where were we?
Can you repeat what you just said? I was muted on this site. Morning.
Mr. Chairman, where do you want me to go? I'm reading a letter from Senator Whitaker.
Yes, continue that.
She requested a meeting with me, and I invited Attorney Smith. She wanted to discuss certain things that she was considering probably putting forth as far as legislation. It was a very fruitful meeting, and that's all I can say about that. Next piece of the last piece of correspondence is dated September 13, 2021. It's from VI Water Power Authority. It's addressed to Austin Nibbs. It says, "Dear Mr. Nibbs, please be advised that the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority is working to secure the necessary funds to pay the authority's outstanding employer contributions. Regretfully, because of combination of adverse conditions substantially higher than projected fuel prices, insufficient rate support, and a long-standing unfavorable regulatory and political environment, the authority has not realized sufficient revenues during the past 10 months to fund some essential expenses. As a result, the authority was unable to remain current, which is biweekly GERS employer contributions, although it has continued to update the GERS on status of the outstanding employer contributions. The authority continues to work with the government of the Virgin Islands to secure outstanding amounts owed to the authority by its autonomous and semi-autonomous entities. Consequently, the authority is awaiting approval of a supplemental appropriation that the government of the Virgin Islands submitted to the legislature to pay down a substantial unpaid obligation that is owed by the Virgin Islands Waste Management Authority. Accordingly, as soon as the authority secures the supplemental appropriation, it will begin to pay down its outstanding employer contributions. Sincerely, Noel Hodge, Interim Executive Director, CEO, copy to Nellen Barry, GRS Board Chair, Kathy M. Smith, General Counsel, Denny Jeremiah, CFO, Kyle Fleming, VI Water and Power Authority Board Chair. I inquired of the CFO regards and Ms. Rio in regards to how much was outstanding. As of today, there are 9 cycles payments that are outstanding, a total of about $340,000 per cycle. So the authority owes us, without any inclusion of the lost investment, about $3.1 million. That ends my correspondence.
Point of information, Chair.
Point of information.
As relates to the letter that was just read from the Water and Power Authority, Do you have any idea how much the lost investment income portion of that is?
Mr. Dorsey, we usually add on 6%.
Can we make a motion at this point on this document? Chair?
Let me hear a motion.
My motion is that we legally go after the Water and Power Authority for monies that are due the system at this time. Because they have shown that they have the monies. They recently publicly promoted individuals internally, so they have money at the highest levels of the system. So they have money, and they've been receiving millions of dollars from federal monies as well as the local government. This is recent money, so my motion is that we go after the Water and Power legally for the monies that are due the system.
Could we have discussion on the motion, please? I need a little more information as to how much and how long the authority has owed before we engage litigation. So, discussion, please.
Yeah, I have a question too along the same line with Attorney Russell. And it's to the chair is to Mr. Nibs. I've known they have lagged before in the past. Mr. Nibs, what is your recommendation? I mean, you can't go legally after someone if they don't have any monies. But what is your recommendation?
Before, in the past, we did file a lawsuit against them, and the judge asked us to settle. That's when Mr. Hodge was there.
Mm-hmm.
And now we settled, and they were able, I think Mr. Julio Reimer was there at the time. We were able to settle, and they paid up. They had come up to date. This is something that has been going on since last year. We have been in contact like every month with the CFO, Ms. Gottlieb. It's 9 cycles, so that's like 9 pay periods.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think we should continue to work with them, understanding their situation. I'm not aware of anyone being promoted or that I don't have anything to do with that. I think we should work with them to see how we can get a payment plan together first before we look to doing, bringing any lawsuits against them.
I agree. I mean, I think that's the first approach we should do. Sit down and meet with them again and see what kind of compromise we could come up with, and then we go forward if we have to legally pursue.
As a suggestion,
I believe that motion could be amended to give the negotiation a 60 or 90-day time, and if WAPA doesn't come up with a solution, then we pursue litigation. You got to have a time frame. We can't continue to negotiate with them in good faith, and they have money and they're not paying us. So I would amend that motion to give the administration, GRS administration, 60 days to negotiate with them, and after that 60 days, we revisit the issue and maybe file a lawsuit against them.
I would like to amend the 60 days to 30 days. I mean, this is a independent authority, and they definitely have the money. It is definitely in the news yesterday that they promoted 2 individuals to the current acting CEO, Mr. Hodge. Their general counsel was one, and their hopefully production of power was the second individual that was heavily promoted. So they have money. They have money. I don't know why we want to play around. The system needs money. I mean, if you want to do 60 days, we can. I think it just should be 30 days with a letter. But if you had to do this last time when Mr. Hodge was in charge, that just shows you the trend. And that's all it is with this system, is just a trend. The same management of the GRS is complaining that the power is going out
This doesn't have anything to do with Mr.
It's just a mismanagement issue of the
I will-
financial resources of the system
I
and
will,
the
I will,
resources of the system.
I am willing to amend.
That's all it is.
I'm willing to amend your motion to allow for the 60 day.
I would go with the 60 days. I would even make a second amendment to go to 30 days. I don't think they need 60 days. What's the justification for 60 days? I'm asking the trustee Russell, what's the justification for 60 days?
Justification for 60 days is that negotiations sometimes involve timing, and we have to give our administrator some time to put things together. So instead of 30 days, 60 days, it's still COVID, it's still abbreviated, okay?
Well, council,
Willing to
Trustee
amend.
Russell, Trustee Russell, can we allow our board council to negotiate? We can probably get it done quicker so we don't tie up the system council.
I have to leave right now.
I willing to amend your motion to give the 60 days, Mr.
Mr. Chairman Barry,
Yes.
this response from the interim director was a letter that we sent to him asking to let's sit down and come up with an installment plan. So we did approach them about that before. And he's responding saying that it appears to me he wants to pay the whole thing off. So all we need to do is go back to him and sit with him. We can come up, if we can't pay the entire amount off, we can work, we do it with all the agencies. We can come up with a payment plan.
Okay. We have a motion which has not been seconded, by the way.
I'll second it. I second it.
Second your own motion?
No, I second the 60-day motion. I retracted my amendment and seconded the 60-day motion.
Okay, so
Okay, so he's accepting Trustee Russell's amendment that the motion is that we go after WAPA for monies owed to the system and given the administrator 60 days to negotiate a payment plan with the WAPA. If not, then they will initiate legal action.
is that, you accept that amendment to your motion, Trustee Dorsey?
That's Trustee Russell's motion. I'm just seconding his.
So Trustee Dorsey's motion is off the table. Trustee Russell,
Yes.
you want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we give our administrator and the system 60 days to negotiate with WAPA for payment that's due. And after the 60 days, we are able to pursue litigation if necessary to collect the money. I so move.
Second.
Alwood,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger. Trustee Liger,
Yes.
Trustee
Liger, yes.
Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Russell,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Barry,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I did not understand what Senator Genevieve Whitaker letter was intimating to us. And is she trying to meet with the board or the
No,
board?
she's not. No, she's not.
Okay. Okay. So she's just seeking information.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to, thank you. Okay.
Okay. kind of lost track of where we are on the agenda now. So, we're in communications and correspondences, right?
We just finished that, so.
So the next item is the chairperson's report.
Yes.
And the only thing I have to report is that I attended a meeting of the Subcommittee on GERS Restructuring, Solvency and Economic Development, which is a subcommittee of the Finance Committee of the Legislature. And the only thing I report at this point in time is that I was impressed by the high turnout of and the level of the Senate engagement. There was at least 10 senators there. There was some lengthy discussion with a lot of ideas thrown on the table. My takeaway is that there's a clear interest and a renewed urgency in addressing the pending insolvency. And it seems to me that the approach being developed is an approach that seeks to defer insolvency as opposed to sustainably financing the system. So most of the discussion was around finding monies to defer the insolvency. We have continued, meaning the GRS have continued to impress on the legislature, regardless of which committee, the preferred approach and the only lasting approach is a sustainable, comprehensive funding approach. And however, we understand that's a big dollar number. The smaller number is funds the approach that says let's see how much it would take to defer insolvency one more year. So we will continue to press on the need for a comprehensive approach, but of course, to the extent that any funding assistance would be preferable than nothing at this point. So the committee is scheduled to reconvene tomorrow to continue those discussions. And that is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I comment and add to it?
Sure, go ahead.
We had our meeting, our policy meeting yesterday. It was very successful, I thought, and several matters will come up. But let me ask, is it possible for trustee members to participate in our meeting tomorrow? I'll tell you why.
Mr. Trustee Russell, before you, I'm just sorry to interrupt you. We are not part of the meeting tomorrow. The senators having a meeting tomorrow. They asked us for information and we have submitted information to them, but GRS is not going to be part of the meeting tomorrow because I specifically asked Senator Bailey that question.
Okay. Well, that settled one issue, but that would, what I would say here is that we need to adopt something today to submit to to the senators as a comprehensive plan for solving the insolvency and moving forward. And I am going to make a motion at the appropriate time to submit something to the senators, which would include revising the budget that they propose to pass soon, so that GERS would be paid the amount from any revenue source to cover the annuities of all retirees, which should be, I heard 150 million, I heard 130 million, something that we could submit to them. So that I think we need to submit a document to them. Okay, I have to leave. Say, okay, continue. I have to leave.
Okay. All right, so continue, Mr. Nibbs. Okay.
Okay. Where am I? Okay. Administrator's report.
Yes.
Good morning again. On August 27, the Havenside Mall Oversight Committee met with Gourmet Gallery principal in regards to reopening of the store. On August 30th, the committee reviewed proposals received from taxi concession at Havenside Mall. On September 3rd, we met with the WICO management. On September 8th, I participated in an executive search committee meeting. On the 9th, the Havenside Mall had a meeting also on that day, on the 9th. On September 13th, Havenside Mall conducted a presentation, an interview for taxi concession at Havenside Mall by the VI Taxi Association, one of the finalists. On September 14, I attended the budget committee meeting. On September 16, I attended the executive search interview. Same on the 17th, I attended continuation of executive search interviews. Also that day, there was a policy committee meeting that was scheduled, which had to be canceled because only one member was in attendance. On September 20th, I attended subcommittee on GRS restructuring, solvency, and economic development meeting on St. Croix. On September 21, I attended the Havenside Mall interview at the mall by Best Taxi, one of the finalists for the taxi concession. On that day, I also met with general and deputy counsels regarding a legal due diligence and opinion on easements at Havenside Mall. I also attended the RFP review for demolition of the warehouses at Havenside Mall. And then yesterday, September 22nd, I attended a policy committee meeting. There are, for 2021, 146 remaining applications for retirement that have to be processed. 29% of the 205 that were received in 2021. As you can see, 2020, about 94% have been processed. And we have 29% processed in 2021 for a total of 164 outstanding applications, includes the government of the Virgin Islands and the autonomous agencies. We're doing pretty well with our disability life certification project. There were 28 life certificates that were received, so these individuals were reinstated on the payroll for August 31, 2021. As far as refunds, so far we have through August 2021, we have a total of $5.7 million of refunds that we have worked on. 510 units. Of the 510 units, 300 units were vested members who resigned and requested their refunds for about $502 million out of the $507 million. We have 81 cases still pending. As far as death benefits, we have processed 2.4 million, completed 53 cases. We have 69 cases pending. The annuity payroll, number of retirees as of September 15, a payroll 8,682. Cumulative amount paid out through September 15, $247.4 million. Number of retirees added to the payroll for the fiscal year, 301. The number of retirees that transition from the payroll up to for the same period, 318 persons. The gross retiree payroll for September 15 was $10.8 million. As for our loan portfolio, we have 2,215 units left between personal loans and mortgages. Of the 2,215 units, only 86 are mortgages. The balance are personal loans. The outstanding amount due to us for those units through August, $24.5 million. As far as for our buildings are concerned, St. Croix building is doing pretty well. There were some minor issues with the fire pump, which corrected. And there was a fire drill that was done, which is something that is done periodically. It was successful. The building, as you know, it was damaged by a vehicle downstairs, and the column, the ballard lamp, the fence is caused by an accident, and the payment is we're currently waiting for the payment from the insurance company, Guardian Insurance. In St. Thomas, we do have many projects that are going on. The hip roof replacement, contractor was selected, Advanced Restoration Services. Contract was executed August 16th. Materials are in order, and work is scheduled to begin in October. Air conditioning project, which is a very large project. Second floor north and south is scheduled for the last week in September. And the central air did remove this week the large remaining equipment on the roof and pumps. Next steps in the air conditioning project is connect the VAVs, install a central air control system, redesign necessary diffusers. The anticipated completion dates for this project is November 2021. There's a project that is continuing on the DOJ second floor offices. Will require additional dry wall repairs from prior leaks and water intrusion. We did go on an energy conservation project, which was something in the works for quite a while. And I'm glad to say that in the nights, lights goes off and comes on in the hallways, only when someone is walking into that area, which we are trying to save on our electricity. We'll monitor that accordingly. There's some ongoing projects in the St. Thomas district. We plan to do the redesign the lobby and restrooms renovation to become ADA compliant. The architect contract was signed, and GRS has received the drawings. Ms. Gums, who is the architect on that project?
Good morning. The architect is Springline Architect.
Okay, thank you. Also, we have some fencing repairs and construction. We want to enclose the air conditioning area down on the ground in the entrance area. As far as Havenside is concerned, warehouse demolition proposals are in. We see 5 bids. We did have a meeting on yesterday. It was successful, and there's a follow-up meeting with the individuals finalists that was selected very shortly. We also warehouse J, which is a warehouse that we would like to maintain to move the 3 existing tenants to that space. We have selected an architect, Carlos Ferreira. He has worked with us before. There was quotes that were sent out, from 3 responded, and he was selected. As far as our rentals are concerned, as of August, August month, we collected $190,555.10. Total fiscal year to date for rental and electricity, we collected $1.4 million. I'm glad to say that we have no arrearages in the rental area. There's a small amount of arrearage of $43,344.22. The majority is between Justice in Exhibit A. You can reference that in Exhibit A. Between Department of Justice for $20,738. Division of Personnel, $22,167. And a small amount from Rescare. That's our federal tenant in the lobby. As far as leases, the current lease for VI Housing Finance Authority expires on September 30, 2021. So we are looking at 1-year renewal awaiting signature. That's the office where First Bank used to occupy down on the first floor. Division of Personnel, we are waiting approval from Property and Procurement Legal Team. Department of Justice, the team met with Department of Justice representative to continue negotiation on August 23rd. The revised draft was sent to DOJ on September 15, 2021. We are waiting response. Casino Commission, also have had some interaction with them in regards to some new language in regards to first right of refusal. I guess they're thinking in advance. If we want to sell the property, they would like to be the first in line. GRS responded and revised the language to reflect first right of notice on September 15, 2021. As far as FEMA, we've been working Ms. Clenningham has been working very closely with FEMA, and we have been getting back our monies that we have, our reimbursements through FEMA for the Havenside Metal Buildings, St. Croix Complex. From time to time, we do submit a schedule of how much we have received. If Ms. Clenningham wants to add something to that, she can. But we have been getting back our reimbursement checks from FEMA for whatever work that is included in the reimbursement projects. That ends my report.
Did Ms. Clendenny want to add anything?
Chairman Bory.
Okay. Any comments, any questions on the report before we move on?
Yeah, I have 2 comments. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just had a question on the warehouse. To remove the warehouse, just for clarification, does the West Bay Group still owe us money, or is that account settled as that alternative investment?
West Bay, the supermarket, you mean?
Yeah, the supermarket. Yeah, the supermarket.
We know that we settled, and there's an outstanding amount that is due from us, from the principals. That is known. That's in the legal report.
Okay, so I guess my question was, I don't know if we could have did an offset, since they're one of the principals in that group is part of the dump, the local dump, manage the dump. They do remove metal buildings.
Mr. Dorsey, I think he's part of a group that submitted a proposal. I think I'll leave it as that. We are presently reviewing and proposal. I don't think we should interfere with that.
I was asking a different question though. You're not listening to what
I
I'm
know what
saying.
you're trying, I know what you're getting at, sir. But I don't think
I
we
was-
should bring that up at this time.
Well, let me finish my thought. I was asking, the organization still owes the system money. That organization is involved with the dump. They run the dump, they manage the dump. They remove these type of projects, these older buildings. They do that kind of work. The monies that they owe us could have been done or in a settlement agreement where they could have been the one to take the building down, which would have been an indirect savings of monies to the system as opposed to going out to bid. That was one point. So I don't know where that's at, but I think that should have been explored, and I still think that should be explored. Even if they submitted something, that should have been a meeting of the minds, and that didn't happen. The next item I wanted to speak about was the electrical portion of the back payment due from the Division of Personnel and the Department of Justice. Since how it's set up, they're not separately metered, and it doesn't appear that this group wants to go along that road of separating it out so they can be on their own and pay for their own light bill. I suggest an amendment to the current lease where they prepay, and we can average it out, but they prepay each month towards the electrical so that the system can be ahead, not behind, and waited for them to come up with a bill and then we pay off the bill. Because we're behind from that standpoint. We're prepaying for a tenant. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I think if we put the language in, they prepay. We draw down from a fund. It can be an interest-bearing fund, so the system can get something off of it. But I'm just saying that the way it's set up now, right now we're down to about 42,000. About 43,000 between the two. But as it stands right now, I mentioned from the past, we need to look at separating out the electrical. However, that seems to be an issue. I never got a second on that. But going forward, that's my suggestion. So Chair, I would like to entertain a motion at this time that we amend the leases for the tenants in general on this document. I mean, who have leases in this property, where we're prepaying for the electrical, so that they would have to prepay us and be drawn down from our account. But now we pay for them every month and then look for the money after, because that just puts the system overall in a negative position to be prepaying. So that's my motion.
Okay, not sure if this is the point for that, but so there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? So there's no second to motion, Mr. Dawson.
Okay, my second motion today for this part of this process, as relates to the demolition of the warehouse on the dock, that we entertain a motion. I'd like to entertain a motion to explore the communication between, if you give me 1 minute.
Mr. Barry, Chairman Barry,
Yes.
I would respectfully request. We had a meeting yesterday in this demolition project, and it's a legal issue. Okay, Mr. Dorsey is a member of the oversight committee. I think he should bring that in there. I recognized yesterday that this person was in a proposal. He's not proposing himself. And I thought about it in my head also. However, I think Mr. Dorsey doesn't understand the settlement agreement. Okay, this person he's talking about has paid more than what is owed of his own monies into the project. The settlement agreement is basically against the two other principles. So I think this would be better discussed in the oversight committee. We haven't completed the process yet. You're tainting the process.
I'm not actually seeing the group in here. I was just trying to get the official name, but,
We
oh,
don't want the
find
name,
it.
we don't want the
Yeah,
names
yeah.
exposed, sir.
Mr.
You're
Nibbs, I
tainting
don't
the
think
process.
those names should be exposed at this
You're
time.
tainting the process.
It's not a public, it's not a public document at this time. This matters before the committee to review all of the proposals, and none of the names of the people who submitted bids have been mentioned to the public, and I don't think we should do it in this forum.
You
Not
guys,
in open session.
But what y'all are discussing in the executive session, if he wants it to, could he discuss it in the executive session then?
Yeah, okay, yeah, let's move the conversation to executive session.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Smith.
Go ahead, Mr. Nibbs.
I think next up is the committee reports.
Okay. Any committee reports?
There was a committee report from the policy committee, but he had to step away. I wasn't here for why he had to step away. I came in late, so I'm not sure why he stepped away. Trustee Russell had a report to do today.
Okay. If he comes
Did he say he
back,
was coming back, Chair?
he said he might come back. Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, so I guess he would have to do it at that time.
Okay.
Unless,
The budget committee met and heard an initial presentation of the budget from management. I think we lost quorum before we could get to a point of a recommendation to the board. So I think what I'll just leave it at that. I'll just probably make a few comments. I guess we'll have to make the presentation over again when we get to the item on the budget when we discuss in the board, Mr. Nibbs. So I would pass on any budget report on that matter, budget committee report, since we're going to have to review it as a full body when the budget comes up on the agenda for review and approval. So I assume that
Chair, can you repeat what you just said?
Members, I'm back. I'm back. Thank you.
Chair,
Okay.
can you repeat what you said?
I said that the budget committee met and we heard a presentation from management on the proposed fiscal 22 budget. We did not have a recommendation to the board on the budget. And so we will have management repeat the presentation when we get to the item on the agenda that deals with approval of the budget.
So Chair,
Mr. Wesley is back.
Chair, I had a question related to your comment just now that related to the budget.
Yeah, go ahead.
Budget. In the budget committee meeting that I was part of, I had made a request if we can add an item to your agenda, and you indicated no. You didn't explain why, you just kept saying no. I asked you 3 times, you said no. And I told you that what I wanted to add in that meeting was a budget-related issue. And you said no. So my question is, can we discuss it now? We have a right as trustees to discuss it now. It's a budget-related issue.
The budget is on the agenda.
Right, but you just mentioned it, and I couldn't get it in at that time. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get it in at the budget time, but I'd like to know if I can discuss it now.
No, we'll discuss it when we discuss the budget, Mr.
Okay,
Let's move on to the agenda.
just for clarification, Chair,
President's
I'm just
report.
trying to, I just have a point of clarification for myself. I'm just trying to understand at what point in a budget committee can the members of the committee add something to the agenda? What is the process?
Which agenda?
You are the chair of the budget committee. I am a member of the budget committee. I asked to add a budget committee item to the agenda.
Which
You
agenda?
kept saying 3 times to your agenda. It was your agenda.
The budget
You
committee
said no
agenda?
3, you said no. It was committee, yes. You said no 3 times to add anything to the agenda. We have added things to the agenda in the past, but I made the recommendation to you to add a budget item since we were talking about the same budget for the system. And I had an issue with an item related to the spending of the GRS money. I asked you if I can add it to your budget in the budget committee so it could be vetted at that time. You told me no. That's what you said. So I'm asking you today, what is the process to add an item when you chair a committee?
The process to add an item is the request of the chair of the committee.
Okay, but I told you it's related to the finances of the system.
Yes.
So you're still saying no because I'm the trustee asking?
Mr. Dawson, this is not a budget committee meeting here. This is a board committee.
This is a general meeting. I understand that. So I'm asking today because I couldn't get it in the budget committee. If I can ask the question today that I had for the budget committee.
And I said you could ask questions discussing the budget.
Right, but I'm also asking you now, what is the process?
The process is that you ask the request of the process to get it on a committee meeting agenda.
No, because when I ask this question in a general meeting like today, you would say to me, well, I'm going to put that in the committee. The committee that I'm going to assign it to is the budget committee. You assign it to the budget committee, and I still couldn't ask the question. So I'm trying to figure out when. When we'll get to the budget committee, I should have been able to go over this with you and the other committee members and the subcommittee. That's what the subcommittee is for.
Okay, that's your, let's move on.
No, but that is what it's for. We have legal counsel here to explain what is the subcommittee for. Through the board to legal counsel. What is the subcommittee?
That is not part of the agenda.
This is not about your opinion or mine, it's the process. It's the process. When I speak in this general meeting, like Mr. Nibbs just said, I'm speaking about an item. You want to put it in an executive session, fine. The last time I spoke about a financial issue that affects the system, you said you want to take it up in a budget committee or committee. You said you want to put it in a budget committee. I said it should be in the development committee. You put it in the budget committee, fine. You came to the budget committee and you still wouldn't hear my point. You wouldn't even let me put it on the agenda.
So you're in a general meeting, and there's an item, an agenda item to discuss the budget. So if you have a budget item, we'll discuss it when we get to the item.
Chair, you're just affecting the finances of the system when we don't discuss what we're here to do. I'm dealing with a budget issue that's spending of the system's money. I asked you in the budget hearing to put it on the agenda. You refuse to put it on. It should not be because you're a chair, you refuse to do something that's for the betterment of the system.
Mr. Darcy, you're repeating yourself. You've said the same thing about 5 times in the last 5 minutes.
We're gonna come right back to the same thing. You can move on. We're gonna come back to the same thing. I'm
Okay.
still gonna ask the question again.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
if I may weigh in, and again, just for general information, all committee chairs have the right and the discretion to set committee agenda. If a committee member who's a voting member of the committee has an item that they want to add to the agenda, they should make that request to the chair. If the chair agrees with that, then the agenda can be amended. If the chair disagrees, then the member has the right to make a motion to add the item to the agenda. If a majority of the voting members vote in the affirmative, then the item is added to the agenda. If a majority of the voting members vote no, then the item is not added to the agenda.
Okay, so there's the process, Mr. Dorsey.
Okay, so I'll make a motion at this time. Chair.
This is not a committee meeting.
Is it a committee meeting? I thought it was a committee meeting. You have to make that motion. Only if I understand, I misunderstand Attorney Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I was speaking relative to what happens in the committee meetings, the process I just explained. If there's something that Trustee Dorsey wants to add, as the chair has said, the budget is on the agenda for today. When that item comes up, if there's something that any trustee wants to discuss that's not before the body, then they have a right to make that motion to add whatever the item is. If they get a majority vote to add it, so be it. If they don't, then it doesn't get added to the budget discussion for today.
Okay, so I'm making a motion today under the budget section of the agenda.
You'll have to wait until we get to that. You'll have to wait until you get to that item, sir.
Okay. I have another point of clarification from the chair. On the agenda today, you have the under new business. So the items under new business, council, I have to wait till we get to that point to have a discussion about it as to why it's on the agenda. That's what I'm asking.
I'm not sure what you're referring to as to why is on the agenda.
On the new business, it has the approval of the HKT Energy Group LLC proposal. And I thought that item was voted on already through.
I mean, if Mr. Trustee Dorsey, if you have issues or questions about that, the appropriate thing is to wait until that item is called on the agenda, and then you could raise whatever issues, questions, or concerns you have at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Is Trustee Russell back?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you want to report on your committee meeting?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
To the general membership of the retirees who might be participating and the administration and trustees who did not attend this meeting. We had a meeting yesterday for the policy committee. It actually was the first meeting and we discussed several policies and we discussed several initiatives. First, we approved the telework policy, and it should be on this agenda for approval by the entire Board of Trustees. We held some policy statements and documents in committee for further revision, and we approached addressing some of the issues that might come up regarding procurement and governance and in the medical policy. The medical policy was discussed extensively, and we may have come to an agreement that would be submitted to the policy committee as soon as we convene our next meeting, so that the medical policy might get approval shortly, as with the procurement policy. We considered them, and we had very good discussions regarding these policies. We adopted a resolution going forward to submit to the Board of Trustees at this meeting. That resolution was that we suspend any effort to liquidate any of the assets of the GRS as we move forward, so that some of the new trustees and some of the ideas that have been circulating can be vetted regarding the GRS, its solvency, and the use of its assets. We will bring that motion accordingly based on the committee. We had a unanimous vote on that resolution, and we had unanimous agreement that all trustees should receive, documents received by the system so that they can have input into anything that the system does regarding, solvency, finances, investments, and the like. So we had a very successful meeting, and we consider that the first of many since the GRS Board of Trustees now are very active and participating in meetings that could make membership feel proud of the representation they're getting on the Board of Trustees. Is there anything that any other member of that committee might want to add besides what I reported? And the members of the committee.
Yes, I would say that.
What happened to Russell?
I think he inadvertently disconnected.
Because I don't think he had finished. Okay, so my understanding is that the committee is recommending, is going to make motions to recommend changes to the policy. Is that what I'm hearing?
I believe that's accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So does anybody know if the intention is to make those motions today?
I believe that was the sentiment of the committee and the resolution that they, or the motion that they passed, was that they were going to bring it to the full body today.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I was disconnected temporarily. I'm sorry about that. Okay, thank you, Attorney Williams. So that would end my report. And we hope that, the Board of Trustees would adopt these, we call progressive measures moving forward. Thank you very much.
So just so I'm clear, the idea is that those recommendations that the board, the committee adopted would be forwarded in the form of a resolution, proposed resolution to the board.
Yes.
And the expectation is, in terms of timing, when would you expect to submit those?
Well, we would like to make an oral motion today. And that oral motion, once we get approval of the Board of Trustees, we will reduce it to writing and let legal counsel reduce it to writing, since I believe the approval to liquidate assets was in writing. And we want to have a similar writing drafted by legal counsel to cover all of the eventualities, but we want to bring the motion today to get the approval of the board of trustees. And once we get the approval, legal counsel could reduce it to writing and we could adapt it. It will be adopted today conceptually, but in writing at our next meeting.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the process is going forward here. So at this point, is this the point where that recommendation is put before the board as a motion?
Mr. Chair, you could do it in one of two ways. Since we had committee reports, technically, you can do it now, or you can add it to the agenda on the new business. So you'll have to motion to amend the agenda to add on the new business, whatever the recommendations are from the policy committee. So you could either do it now since you're dealing with committee reports, or you could do it by amending the agenda to add it on the new business.
I would like to do it now, Mr. Chair, simply because all of the trustees are here, and I have some I have conflicts with other meetings, and I want to do it now simply because I want to be part of the process.
Okay.
Okay, and therefore I move on behalf of the policy committee that the GRS system rescind the resolution that approved the selling of any assets of the GERS, including properties on St. Croix and properties on St. Thomas. I so move.
Second.
But Chairman Russell, may I suggest that you not rescind the resolution, but simply amend the resolution, because we're talking about the dynamic asset allocation plan that contains more than the selling of asset. And Mr. Henderson or Mr. Niz may want to weigh in on this, but simply, if I understand what the point of the resolution is, or the motion to amend it to prohibit the selling of the assets that you have described, but not to rescind the entire resolution, unless that's what you really want to do.
Because I think an amendment, as you suggested, is better to do that now. And when we see our resolution in writing compared to the resolution that was passed, we could adjust it accordingly. But right now, I would accept your amendment as you suggested to amend the motion. Okay?
Well,
so could you restate that for me, please, so that we could have it corrected on the record?
it would be to amend the resolution adopting the dynamic asset allocation plan by deleting it to prohibit the sale of any of the GRS assets, real properties on St. Croix or St. Thomas.
Okay. And I
Point of information, Chair. The resolution number is 35-215.
Okay, good. Thank you. And so, based on this discussion,
good morning, trustees. Just for clarification, Glenville Henderson, is this amendment speaking to all assets currently under the GRS or a particular set of assets?
This is all assets.
All assets. Okay, and
Wait a minute.
It has to be real assets or real property.
Yeah, it can't be all assets.
It has to be real
That's what I'm
property.
thinking. Because we're talking about, we have a liquidity issue in where we have to draw to cover shortfall. So you're talking about all assets, including liquid and illiquid, or just the liquid assets?
It got to be real assets, not
Real
investment,
property,
not
yes.
financial assets.
Can I just read what it is? Hello? Can I just read what it is?
Yes.
I mean,
Okay. It starts with real assets. The chair is correct. So it starts with the Havenside Shopping Mall, St. Thomas headquarters, which is the building we're in now. Well, I'm in now, the main building. The estate Hoffman and Alteberg, property, Windward Reimer Highway. That's as you're coming from Price Mart, depending on which direction, next to the new gas station out there. The St. Croix headquarters, similar building. Casino Control Commission building, former St. Croix headquarters. The state Coakley Bay. That would be, and let me just go back to the state Nolteberg, Hoffman, sorry, and Nolteberg. It's 120 acres, roughly. And the St. Croix, Coakley Bay is 170 acres. So that would include all of that.
Okay, so
I don't know if I left anything out, Senator Trustee Russell.
So I think we need to restate the motion to make it clear that it's real assets, because I'm not sure if you need to make I'm not sure if you need to make any reference to the dynamic asset allocation, because that dynamic asset allocation is more focused on investment assets, financial assets, as opposed to the real assets. So, but in any case, I think you need to clarify your motion to make sure that we're talking about real assets.
Well, the resolution or the document that Trustee Dorsey is reading from is the resolution that adopted the dynamic asset allocation plan, which, in addition to what you said, Mr. Chairman, also provides for, as part of that plan, for the sale of the real assets. So if I may, Mr. Russell, do you want me to restate the motion?
Yeah, please.
The motion would be to amend Resolution 35-0215, the resolution adopting the dynamic asset allocation plan to prohibit the sale of any of the system's real properties, including but not limited to the Havenside Mall, the St. Thomas headquarters, the Hoffman and Nollyburg properties, the St. Croix headquarters, the casino, including the Casino Control Commission building and the Coakley Bay properties.
That's the motion. Yes. Thank you very much.
Second.
Okay, so it's properly moved and seconded.
Any discussions?
I have discussion, but I have to participate in a district court hearing right now.
So just to clarify, to prohibit the sale of those assets, I take it unless the board at a subsequent point decides to do so. I mean, just question, Pedro. In the event of an insolvency, when we've liquidated all our investment assets, what would be the hurdle at that point with respect to the real assets.
Yes, I mean, the board could always come back and amend this amended resolution. So for example, let's say 2 years from now, you need to raise, $120 million. You may then amend the resolution to say, let's sell, X or Y property. So it doesn't prohibit you from doing so or taking some future action to sell one or all of these assets.
So as currently written, you interpret the language to say to include that in the future. I'm not sure. I mean,
I'm sorry, I missed some of what you said. Repeat.
As we speak today, the current resolution, any sale of any assets has to be approved by the board.
Right, the specific sale, but bear in mind, and again, Mr. Nibbs and Mr. Henderson could correct me, right now, pursuant to the dynamic asset allocation plan, I believe there may be some time frames by which the plan is you're going to liquidate these real properties. So the system is moving in that direction pursuant to the authority given to them by Resolution 35-0215. If this motion doesn't pass, the system is going to be looking to sell these properties. If this resolution is adopted, then the system will no longer be looking to sell those properties unless there's a further resolution that specifically authorizes them to do so.
So the distinction here is that they could no longer look to sell. Because I mean, under the current arrangement, they can't really sell without board approval.
Yeah, but they could take actions in that direction. For example, they could put out RFPs. They could entertain, proposals from individuals, enter into negotiation with them, and then come back to the board and say, we have a proposal from somebody to buy the St. Thomas headquarters at X amount of dollars. Board, tell us what you want us to do. So yeah, you're correct that they can't sell them, but they can take action towards the sale of the property. By passing this resolution, you will now prohibit them from even taking action in that direction.
I have a question. What would be the impact of this decision as it relates to actuarial projections that encompasses all assets?
And you're posing that question to whom?
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone, Mr. Nibbs, I don't know if you could chime in on that.
I could answer.
Well,
Mr. Henville?
Hello?
It would increase the unfunded liability if we sell.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, yes, I'm hearing you, Trustee Dorsey.
I don't know. I didn't know if that answer was sufficient for you.
Yes, it's fine.
That answers your question?
It's fine, yes.
Okay. I would just say this, right now we have.
If we sell, wait, hold on a second. If we sell, the proceeds go towards retirees' payments, right?
I guess.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
Okay.
It would increase the asset base.
Okay.
If we're saying that we're not selling based on the amendment proposed, how would that affect the timeline of, I'm assuming that would affect the timeline of insolvency or the timeline of the whole actuarial assumptions.
My take on it right now is that we'll always come back. We'll always come back to the amendment. So
Right now, it's only, if you look at it, it's only
Just let me say,
3 months.
just let me say, as I was one of the proponents of directive. Let me give my justification.
I can't hear anything.
Mr. Boy, you're breaking up.
That's
We have a
Mr.
hard
Anderson
time
need to
hearing
mute
you.
his mic.
I think something is wrong with the
I'm
system.
muted, Mr. Cabot. I'm muted.
Oh, okay. Oh, Anderson.
I'm hearing it too, but it's not coming from my end.
Anybody else need to mute?
There's just a general static in the line. I'm not sure if it's coming from anyone.
I think Mr. Liger is unmuted. Oh, there he is. All right.
Oh, okay, so I'll just offer the justification that I offered at the time. And it's simply this. We at the time were on notice by the actuaries and all the numbers that we saw that the system is heading towards insolvency. In an insolvency, sale of assets is out of your control. I mean, that's almost a definition of insolvency. You have to sell your assets. In no way we could have assets and tell the retirees that we can't pay them the benefits when we have assets sitting. And so the idea was that if you're going to have to sell these assets anyway, in the event of the
Liger, I think we're having feedback on your end.
that the time to do the sale would not be when we're flat broke. Because when you're out of money and you're flat broke and you have to sell, then it becomes a yard sale. You just have to pretty much take what you get. You really have no bargaining power. So it makes more sense to, if you have to sell it under conditions that we can control, as opposed to sell it as part of a bankruptcy sale. That was the rationale for the directive to the management to begin to look towards the eventual liquidation of those assets. If the board feels that we need to take that off the table, then that's your decision. And we have a motion on the floor. Could you repeat the motion? Pedro, could you repeat the motion? I assume it's trustee
Russell. I think he's
Trustee Russell's motion. I think Trustee Dorsey was seconding it, I think.
Yes.
So could you repeat the motion for the board?
The motion
But then
is to
Russell stepped
amend.
out?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
The motion is to amend Resolution 35-0215, the Dynamic Asset Allocation Plan, to prohibit the sale of any of the GRS real properties on St. Croix or St. Thomas, including but not limited to the Havenside Mall, St. Thomas headquarters, Hoffman and Nollyburg, St. Croix headquarters, the Casino Control Commission building, and the Coakley Bay properties.
Absolutely. And we had a second, Mr. Chair, so we had asked for a vote.
So, yeah, Mr. Dorsey seconded, so roll call.
Trustee Colbert,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger, Trustee Liger,
Yes.
trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Russell,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you. And Chairman Bowery, I didn't get to discuss at the time that the motion was still pending to have discussion. I need to give me 5 minutes to explain some ideas that came up as we were meeting as a policy commission to the entire board and to members, please, because we don't rescind, modify that agreement to sell without having a plan for GRS moving forward. And I need to mention that so that our members can feel a sort of confident that we sort of know what we're doing. Can I have a 5 minute to explain, Chairman Bob?
Sure.
Okay. There are several opportunities for solvency for the GRS, but the first one, and I'm going to put a motion on the appropriate time, is that the government of the Virgin Islands deals with retired government employees as a priority, similar to how they deal with current employees. And when they pass a budget, members, that budget should also include payment of retirees. So I want, and Mr. Nibs and the administration of the system to understand that we want the legislature to include in its budget, and it could be included in this budget, a portion of any revenue collected by the Virgin Islands government to be dedicated to the GRS, which means that we are asking for the legislature to implement a policy that when it is passing a budget, that the amount paid to retirees annually is included in that budget. The amount should always be accounted for by the government. And the way to account for that is to take maybe 10, 15% of the gross receipt tax, maybe 10, 15% of excise tax, maybe 10, 15% of the hotel room tax, maybe 10%, 15% of property tax.
Thank you, Guy.
You're mute.
Yeah, so that proposal is what we need to get to the legislature as soon as possible. And the legislature needs to understand that retirees should be treated like employees and have a priority in the budget every time they pass a budget. So whatever numbers you have, Mr. Nibs, as the payout for last year, that's the number that we want to submit to the legislature, that they revise their budget, and when they cut in agencies, they with an understanding that they're paying retirees as part of the employee package to support the government. That is the proposal we want to submit. There are other proposals, but that corrects the initial deficiency of paying retirees. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just to be clear, you're saying Are you saying that the GRS should pass a resolution or take a position and submit in writing to the legislation as a recommendation? Yes?
Okay, I could hear you now. Yes.
So are you saying that the GRS should make a formal recommend that as a recommendation to the legislature? Hello? Hello?
I think he lost connection
I think
again.
he's gone again. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Dorsey, I think you're trying to say something.
Yeah, I was saying, Chair, that that's what we had agreed on, what we discussed in the policy committee meeting. We also discussed with Chairman Trustee Carwood being the chair of the development committee, that these items that are what we call undeveloped assets that we control, that we bring that under that particular committee, because I did ask the question as to when was he going to schedule a committee meeting, and he indicated that you haven't sent any items over to him. So that was another motion I wanted to make after, during this process, since we're talking about these assets, so that we can get right on it. We have some ideas where we can explore to build capacity to assist in meeting those monthly obligations for the system under the development committee by developing these undeveloped assets.
Yeah,
as well.
If I may interrupt, Chairman Bowie, I didn't hear your comments. I was disconnected, and I wanted to. Regarding the revenue stream coming from the legislature as a percentage of revenue, of any revenue collected by the government, because you are the OMB director, and you have information about that. You could add to that.
So what is your question?
Well, the proposal that I am going to move at the right time is that the GRS system, the Board of Trustees submit a revenue stream to pay the existing obligation to all retirees. And Mr. Nibbs has the number, but let's say it's 130 million. And they revise the budget to include it.
Okay, I mean, the question about the percentage, I mean, if the my thought is that if you're going to do that, that should be the recommendation. And then this it's a general, all those monies, all those revenues going to the general fund, so it's a general fund obligation.
Yes. Okay. Good. Okay.
And I don't know what percent, whether you got to run the numbers to see whether 10% is the number.
Right. And
rather than you doing that, if the request is that they fund the dollar amount, let them do it in the mark of the budget, whether they fund it by additional revenues or by reducing somebody's expense, that's gonna be their call.
Yes. And I would like our team, and we have a good team of attorneys and actuaries and experts, to come up with a number, because and come up with a proposed approach. Like, for example, I know for sure gross receipt taxes over the last 2 years have increased. This is public knowledge, and you could get a nice sum of money from an increased gross receipt tax. But we would have to run the numbers and spoon feed the legislature, because if they didn't come up with it themselves, they might be reluctant. So if you give it to them, the amount that needs to be funded and suggestions, there are at least 7 taxes, Mr. Bowery, that I know collect money for this territory to the general fund. So, you know, I would like that to have our team work out a number and send it to them so that the markup budget, before the budget is passed, they could consider this. And that, to me, is a stopgap to get retirees paid for the next year at least. And moving forward, it could become a policy. But anyhow, thank you.
Okay. All right. So could we move forward in the rest of the agenda?
Yes.
Did you hear my point of information, Chair?
No, what was it?
We also discussed in the policy committee meeting of those undeveloped assets. The question came from myself to Trustee Caldwell, who was the chair of the development committee. We have these undeveloped assets. When are you having your next committee meeting? He indicated to us in the meeting that you haven't put anything on his agenda to have a meeting. So it was suggested that we take the undeveloped assets and we put those under that committee so we can start to look at building capacity for the system to bring in another additional cash flow that can help on the monthly obligations that we have to meet. So we're not putting all the burden when we come with our package to the Senate, that we're not putting all the burden on them just like that. So that's where we were at. So that was
Let me add something. Let me add something that was left out. Trustee Dorsey asked when I was having my meeting, and my response was there was nothing assigned to my committee after my discussion with Chairman Bowery. He raised the issue of the properties, and I indicated to him that they were put in the investment committee, and my recollection was Chairman Bowery put it in the investment committee because that's a committee where all the trustees have a vote. That was the extent of the discussion. So Trustee Dorsey felt that they needed to be in the development committee and not in the investment committee. And that's where it's at. I don't understand what can be accomplished in the development committee that can be accomplished in the investment committee, but if the majority of the board wants it in my committee, I'm fine with that. That's just my position. I just wanted to put it on the record. I don't see the advantage or what's going to be gained by having it in the development committee where all the trustees are not voting members as opposed to the investment committee.
I agree with Trustee Caldwell. I think most of the investment and development committees, I think they actually, to me, are one and the same. So I agree it can be discussed in the investment committee. Those issues.
All the members of the development committee are members of the investment committee. Is that right?
Correct. The investment committees are all trustees, so they're members that might be in the investment committee that are not in the development committee. But everybody in the development committee is part of the investment committee as well.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll just make a motion at this time that the undeveloped properties that we have under our control, which would be the Coakley Bay and St. Croix, the Hoffman and Nolteberg and St. Thomas, those two undeveloped properties. Then I would make a motion that we put those under the investment committee and be on the agenda for discussion under the next meeting or possible development.
Oh, I second your motion.
Okay, roll
But
call.
what, I have a question.
I don't
But what
understand.
what are we investing? What are we gonna just discuss the assets?
No, we're gonna be discussing the investment opportunities. For example, as where you sit at the Port Authority, we'll take an approach like the executive director of the Port Authority is doing for his properties, where he's gone to the Senate to request monies to assist in his capital investments. So we can take the same approach. That's one approach. The other approach we can look at is a public-private partnership going forward with some of these properties. That's the approach, but we have to start the discussion. Right now, the properties are just sitting there.
The question is,
They're not producing any income.
the question is the assignment to the committee. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
I was just assigning it to the committee so we can start the discussion. But if we don't assign it, we don't do anything, then we get nothing done.
I don't think I need a vote. I think that should come from the chairperson and the investment committee. Those are the things we need to discuss. I don't think I need to move from the development committee, because it was never in a development committee. And most of these issues is already on the book. We just stopped prior because of the funding issues. But I think that should, that should be under the purview of the chairperson. He could set up an investment committee and say, hey, is this what we want to do moving forward with these assets? So I don't think I need a motion for that. I mean, I could be wrong.
Well, I would just say this, right? I already been discussing these areas of concern with the chair, and I'm only bringing it up because it hasn't moved. I've sent items over in writing to the chair and Ms. Coley, and like you said, it is up to the chair. So since I couldn't get it to the chair, I'm making it as a motion now so that we can do something. Because if we don't do anything, we'll be here discussing if it should be in the development committee or should be in the investment committee. But nothing ain't getting done.
It's not in the.
I'm just saying we put it in a committee. Let's have a discussion and see where it goes. I don't see what the big deal is. Now, I have asked the executive director, who said he doesn't mind coming, to share his thoughts and his ideas, which is Mr. Carlton Dow, as to how he's able to move his 7 projects or 9 projects he's currently involved in with funding from the central government, from the first branch of government. And you'll hear in his opening statement when he comes to the Senate, he doesn't get any money from the Senate, from the general fund. Sorry. He'll say that. So I'm saying to you guys, if you read his report, his last report at the Senate, that dealt with his capital projects, which is territory-wide, he received money from the matching fund. So I don't see what the issue is here. That's all it was, just to try to make get some money to come in different aspects. I mean, to me, it's straightforward. I'm not sure what the pushback is. Maybe somebody can clear it up for me. I'm just telling you that I've been to the chair. It didn't work that way, so I'm trying to bring it through this process.
Okay, so we'll convene an investment committee meeting no later than the first week in October, and that will be on the agenda. So we need to submit the proposal that you want to be discussed, and that will be on the agenda. So
no, we don't need the motion no more.
I'm announcing right here, right now, that within next 2 weeks, I'll schedule an investment committee meeting, and you guys submit what you want specifically to discuss the items that you have in mind.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, good.
All right.
So I withdraw my second, and the motion is not necessary. Okay. Thank you.
I withdraw my motion. Thank you.
All right. Lost my place on the agenda, Mr. Nibs. Where?
Thank you for the treasurer's report.
We all lost our place.
Yeah, treasurer's report.
I haven't lost my place.
Good morning, Board Chair, other trustees. This is the schedule of receipts and disbursements for the month ending August 31st, 2021. Receipts from collection, loan repayment, 1,427,888. Year-to-date, 13,196,789. Rent from tenants / utilities, 69,021. Year-to-date, 1,232,410. Employer retirement contributions, 10,895,010. Year-to-date, 91,138,942. Employee retirement contributions, 5,598,769. Year-to-date, 46,633,225. Parking facility, $290. Year-to-date, 8,481. Miscellaneous, 617,884. Year-to-date, 6,650,505. Total collections for the month of August, $18,608,863. Year-to-date, $158,860,352. Disbursements, annuity payments, $21,821,841. Year-to-date, $242,015,558. Administrative expenses, $1,758,889. Year-to-date, $15,175,744. Personal loans, $36,226. Year-to-date, $195,110. Mortgage loans, $31,297. Year-to-date, $168,050. Year-to-date retiree loans, $11,092. Land loans, $1,036. Year-to-date, $1,036. Refund of contributions, $1,189,482. Year-to-date, $8,116,893 for total disbursement for the month of August, $24,838,770. Year-to-date, $265,683,481 for a net deficit of $6,229,908. Year-to-date net deficit, $106,823,130. So as you can see, we collected about 75% of what was needed for our expenses of 24 million and had a shortfall of like 25%. Our year-to-date collection was approximately 5% of what was collected the previous year in 2020. And our expenditures were reduced by 0.32%. Year-to-date administrative expenditure was 91% of budget. And due to the year-to-date shortfall of 106 million, we withdrew 109 million from the investment portfolio to cover our expenses and obligations.
I have a quick question.
I have some questions too, after you, Mr. Chair.
The loan disbursement amount. What are we disbursing loans for?
If you look in the supplemental, you see that they were for refunds, insurance. So the supplemental provides you the breakdown on what those are for.
Where's the supplemental?
It's like the third page or so.
Okay, so we see further on?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll wait for that. When we get to that page, point it out to me, please.
Okay, so on page 31, on page 32, it has the supplemental, which has the personal loans. The 36,000 were refunds.
What I'm following is the information that came from Scully, and I don't have any pages on that. So as you move to your report, once we get to the schedule, just alert me.
Yeah, and Ms. Jeremiah, before you move on, I have the 24 million that was paid in August. I think you sent 24 million, right?
In August?
Yes, this year.
Total disbursement for the month.
Yeah.
Ms. Jeremiah is looking at?
Yes, 24 million.
Yeah, okay. So if you could clarify how much was of that was direct payment to retirees for their annuity?
21 million.
Okay, so
almost 22, 21.8, right?
21.8, okay? Okay, so that is that an accurate reflection of the monthly retirees annuity going forward? Could I use that as a gauge for us to ask the Senate for money for an annual appropriation, 21 million times 12, and deal with that? Is that an accurate one?
We could get your number.
Yes, it's accurate.
Because I mean, if you look at the year-to-date number,
the year-to-date. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman Bowery.
I'm saying the year-to-date number is 242 million for 10 months, for 11 months.
Okay, that's it.
So we could annualize that number. That's the number right there.
Okay, good. Well, that's what we need to annualize and ask the Senate to appropriate that so that the system doesn't bleed any more money.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about that some more. But that's the number. That number tells you the annual payout.
Okay, very good. And that was my question, because I was using the August figures as a gauge. Thank you very much, Ms. Jeremiah.
Okay. So we can go on to Havenside Mall.
Yeah.
Okay, the Havenside Mall for the month of August, we have rents collected from tenants, 145,614 year to date, $1,822,110. We collected a total of 145,614 for August year to date, $2,251,040.
What's the miscellaneous? What's the miscellaneous? Sorry to interrupt.
The miscellaneous was, this was early on. I don't quite remember. I think it was a reimbursement for, I'll have to look it up, Chairman. I don't remember what it was. It was earlier in the year.
Okay, okay. So it's just one last question. Is that like a one-time?
Oh, I think it was FEMA's money, from monies collected from FEMA, some of it.
Okay, so that's a one-time thing. That's not something.
Correct.
Okay, okay, good. Go ahead.
Our disbursement, personal services, 69,379 year to date, 965,364. Our fringe benefits, 35,962 year to date, 421,712. Supplies, 4,948 year to date, 79,137. Other services, 3,724 year to date, 127,170. Utilities, 6,052 year to date, 45,226. Capital projects, 147,457 year to date, 1,815,146. Total disbursement, 267,522 for the month of August, year to date, 3,453,755. We have a net deficit in August of 121,908, year to date, 1,202,716. The year-to-date homicide expenditure was 66% of the budgeted amount. And year-to-date collection was approximately 10% less than the same period in fiscal 2020. That ends the reading of the schedule of receipts and disbursement, Chairman.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Next on the agenda is the investment officer's report.
Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to move to accept the treasurer's report.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, can I hear a second?
Second.
Moved on second then.
Trustee Calwood.
Not voting.
Trustee Dorsey.
Not voting.
Trustee Liger.
Yes.
Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Russell.
Yeah.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Chairman Barry.
Yes.
4 yes, 2 not voting, 1 absent.
Yes, motion carries. So, investment officer's report.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, other trustees. Update of the investment performance of the fund as of August 31st, 2021. The total plan returned a negative 0.1% return for the month. Year to date, the fund is up about 1.4%. For the 1 year, the fund is up 3.8%. Total fixed income's negative 0.2% return was in line with its benchmark. Total alternative was up 0.2% in absolute terms, but underperformed its benchmark by 310 basis points. Our one active bond manager, Q Capital, returned negative 0.2 and outperformed its benchmark by 10 basis points. What that relates to in dollar amounts, we ended the month at approximately 437 million in assets. This excludes our member loans program, St. Thomas Office Complex, St. Thomas and St. Croix office complexes. So we had a beginning market value of 452 million. We had a net cash flow of $15 million in the month of August, needed for benefits expenses. We had total income of $315,847. We had a gain, we had a loss of $738,602. And well, a loss in value, I'm sorry, not dollars, a loss in value of $738,602 to end up at the ending market value of approximately $437 million for the end of the month. As it relates to investment management, custodian and consulting fees, we paid no fees for the month. Year to date, we've paid $400,000. And fiscal year to date, we've paid about $505,000 in investment management, consultant, and custodian fees. As it relates to securities lending, we had earnings of about $1,400 for the month. Year to date, $8,000, and fiscal year to date, about $9,100 for the month. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation of the performance of the fund for the month of August 31st, 2020. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Do you have any?
I have.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand the negative performance of the assets. You said negative 0.2 and two or three occasions. I need a better explanation of that.
You need a better explanation as to the performance of the fund.
Yes.
So for the month ending August, the fund performance was negative 0.01%, which means that for that month, for the month of August, from August 1st to August 31st,
yeah,
there was a negative performance of that amount, and that was due to basically just as relates to our current position in terms of our fixed income portfolios.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Saw exactly, our fixed income portfolios saw a slight negative return for the month of August. As you know, we no longer have equity in our portfolio. So what drives performance totally now, basically for the plan, is our fixed income portfolio. Due to the risk of the rising inflation and the current trajectory of the economics with the Fed still buying, still generating liquidity within the market, buying 120 billion worth of bonds monthly. There's just not the yield. There's just not that much yield as it relates to fixed income right now.
Okay.
Where we would usually have that outperformance or the overperformance if we had our equity positions. We just don't have that juice anymore.
Okay. So and I think you said we pay 500,000 in costs. That's what we pay the consultants.
Oh, okay, yeah, year to date, we've paid a total of 505,000 in fees, expenses. So for investment management, we had 442,000 in expenses. Now, bear in mind, there was a couple of fees that were lagging from last fiscal year that we paid in this fiscal year. So that number is a little inflated.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. So is there a provision that if, and I don't know if it relates to the fixed income, but when investment underperform, is the consultants also taxed with a reduction of their fee?
Currently, we only have one active manager. That would be Pew Capital. They have a fixed fee management schedule.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it's okay. So it's like a contract. Okay, good.
Correct.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to know that we operating solvent in terms of our relationship with these consultants, because sometimes we have to, if we suffering, the consultant should suffer too. But I understand. Thank you very much for that report.
You're welcome. I think there was one other question.
Just a quick question. Well, two questions. The contract with the manager, is it tied to performance in any way?
No, it's not. So it's based on the value of assets that they manage at a given time.
Okay, so as the value of the assets go down, their fees go down.
That is correct.
Okay. So it's in their interest to keep the value up.
That is correct.
The other question I had was on looking at the schedule where it show, I don't know what page is this. It show about $739,000 loss.
Okay, right. Now, bear in mind, this is loss in value. So the investment fund doesn't realize a loss until we sell a particular asset.
Yeah.
So
okay.
this is just the value.
Yeah, okay. Based on the market condition.
Correct.
Okay. Thank
That's
you.
why I paused to reiterate, to clarify that.
Yeah, it needs clarification because, yeah, okay.
Okay, one last question, because projected value and income and whatever our investments can provide. Give the Feds accommodating COVID in any ways. Give me a projection moving forward, how you expect our investments to do in this COVID climate and with the Feds keeping the interest rate down. Tell me how you think.
I think we did analysis originally when we did implement the dynamic asset allocation in 2015, and basically, given our current portfolio makeup allocations, we're looking at roughly a 3.9% year-over-year average return on our portfolio going forward, if everything stays true to form as it is right now.
Okay, I got it. And
So that would be the estimated expected return.
And it used to be up to 8% with equity. That's what you're saying.
That was 8% was our hurdle, and it used to be, yes, exactly 8%. As a matter of fact, I think from inception of the fund, we've averaged like 8.6%.
Yeah. And so now we have, how do we return to try to capture that investment in the current financial climate? Give me your idea.
Given our liquidity issues, given insolvency looming, I really can't see us getting, unless there's some drastic change, some drastic infusion of capital that we could actually reinvest in some of the other traditional asset classes that we've done in the past, which includes equities and the like. I really can't see us squeezing any more juice out of the markets given our current allocation.
So what would a pension obligation ban do to our investment? Suppose we ask the legislature to float a bond for, let's say, 800,000 or something like that.
800,000 or 800 million?
800 million, sorry. Thank you. Million, yeah, 800 million, which I want to ask them to do it. So I am there, but tell us how a projection so that we could give them some numbers, how it would help us.
I can't give you a projection right now in terms of, I guess I would have to work with our investment consultants to come up with a projection, but I would assume that we would be able to, with our $800 million infusion, we would be able to kind of invest more status quo as we did in the past. So we should be able to squeeze more juice out and kind of maybe get more in line with where we were before to where we are now.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that report.
Senator Russell, just to add to that, there is current legislation on the books for only 600 million. So the legislature would have to increase that amount to go over the 600 million.
Yeah, and I think, and thank you, Attorney Smith, but that 600 million was passed in 2007. It can't be the same figure now.
I agree.
Yeah, and so I ready to have, bring it to the board to have that increase. I use 800 as a figure so you don't reach, 1 billion, but it could be 900 million too. So, and I don't think we should cut any corners with the legislature. We ask them for what we need. And that's one, we need a pension obligation ban for infusion of cash.
Bear in mind, Trustee Russell, that even at 800 million infusion, if we don't have a steady influx of flow, even after the 800 million infusion, I think we'll probably just, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I can't project that we'll probably go that further if we still putting out more than we're taking in.
Okay, and I understand that. And Well said. But we got to start sometime.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you, Chairman Bory.
What I would suggest, and somebody take notes so I don't forget, that at the investment committee meeting that we spoke about, I mean, we put an item on the agenda to have the our investment consultant make a presentation.
Yes, that's absolutely necessary. Well said, Chairman Bory.
Okay, so that'll be the other item on the agenda for that meeting.
That meeting, Mr. Chairman, that meeting would be in October because I think usually the consultant does a investment committee presentation around that time as well. So it probably would work in good.
Yeah. I mean, September is pretty much done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suspect it'll be early October.
Right. So I think typically we do have the investment consultant come in and give the investment committee a overview, basically.
Okay, so maybe you could give them a heads up so that they could move up the timetable just in case.
We'll do that.
Okay. All right.
Chairman Bory,
Yes, sir.
in the investment committee meeting that you had, I had made a request. I mean, I was late today, but I had made a request that we as a board have a meeting today. You remember?
Yeah, I made a request that we as a board have a meeting today.
Yes, just the board and legal counsel. You remember that request in the investment committee meeting?
I don't remember that, but so we have, you want to do it in executive session? Something you want to be in executive session today?
I was asking if we as just the trustees could have a meeting and have a discussion along with legal counsel alone. And you said we would do that today, but you said we would, do it. You said we would do it before the meeting, but I was late. That's what you had agreed to.
But we have an
But I was
executive.
late.
We have an executive session coming up. Which will just be the board and council.
Okay, good. That's fine.
Okay. So next agenda item. Do we need to accept that report, Mr. Nibbs?
No, sir.
Okay. The next item is we're into new business.
Okay.
Should we do unfinished business? Well, let's not.
No, I'm willing to go forward.
Yeah, go ahead.
As you remember, Chairman Bowery, in the July 29th special meeting, there was a motion made by Trustee Dorsey, and it reads as follows. The motion was made by Trustee Dorsey and seconded by Trustee Russell to open up the bidding process for a minimum of 3 proposals for technical assistance for the Havenside Mall Energy Generation Project. The motion was passed 4 yes, 3 absent. Subsequently, and based on that motion, administration went out and did an RFP for this project. Also, we did an RFP for the JLL project, which you know is the consultant for the pending development at Havenside Mall. Did I think a week, 10 or 11 days. We came back on August 26th to a regular meeting. That meeting had to be canceled due to lack of a quorum. Subsequently, I got approval from the chairman to circulate a poll vote for this project, the JLL LaSalle proposal, and the approval of the VI Casino Commission building signage. I circulated the results of the poll vote. On this project, I received 3 yes votes. Yes from Carlwood, yes from Liger, yes from Barry. The other 4 trustees did not respond. The reason why this measure or project is on the agenda today, because I think that the Haven Site Oversight Committee has done what was requested of them on all the projects that I just mentioned. The energy generation project and the JLL project. And we are requesting approval of the project because we have done everything that was necessary and we requested of us to complete. So that's the reason why it's back on the agenda today. I must say that this project, we got 2 inquiries, just inquiries, and I discussed it with them what we were looking for. Those individuals did not respond. Only person responded was the HKT. They resubmitted that to us. So I think that, like I said, we have done whatever we were directed to do. This is a very important project. As you know, Whopper is hampering the operations of the Havenside Mall on a weekly basis. This week we had a lot of problems. You know, as we know, we don't own the generator. This project is to develop a long-term strategic plan to replace any infrastructure and solar energy, just about everything that you can ask for, more modern energy generation. You know, so all I'm asking is that, excuse me?
No, you finish. I wanted to ask you a question about the Havenside energy generation plan, specific to that. So when you finish.
Now, well, you can go forward. I also have members of the committees also in the meeting today. There's a manager in the meeting, so they can also respond if they like. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Trustee Russell.
Yes,
Trustee Russell. I have a point from early on in reference to this item even being on the agenda. So I need that address from legal counsel. When I make a motion, I don't get a second, the motion dies. This went through the poll vote, which shouldn't have been a poll vote, in my opinion. I don't think this went to the level that it should have been a poll vote. We never had an actual discussion. We didn't have a meeting. The meeting didn't have enough members to have a quorum. The meeting was canceled. If anything, we should have had that discussion. But my thing was, you did a poll vote, you didn't get the proper votes, it died. You know, if you're following the RFP process, this process, as we voted on, as you said, the motion was made, it was seconded, it was voted on, minimum of 3 votes, then they need to go back out as an RFP. Now we do a poll vote. I feel like when you bring it onto the agenda, you're forcing it on the trustees, because it's like it's what you want. But this thing already died. It didn't get the proper votes. It died. That's what the chair likes to tell me when I don't get a second. It died for lack of a second, but this died for lack of 4 votes. So this should not even be on the agenda. If anything, you should have been telling us today, it's going back out to bid. We didn't get the poll votes, and we didn't get it to the RFP. It's going back out to bid. But just for this to even have this discussion, I feel like you're forcing it on us. Then we had the other questions that we mentioned from the beginning. That was never addressed. We don't have a policy on the RFP process. We're in the policy committee discussing that now. And I asked in the policy committee if it was even legal for us to do the RFP process if we don't have a legal process to do it. But then I was told we adopted portions of the central government process. But right now, I don't see how this should be on the agenda. I think this needs to go back out to bid. I think that's where this should be. And that was my primary question from the beginning. I need someone to answer that for me.
So the process has been that this item was discussed in a committee meeting. It was discussed in a special board meeting. At the special board meeting, the decision was made to have the executive director or the administrator seek bids. And the expectation is if you send him out to seek bids, the expectation that he'll come back with a recommendation. So he went through that process, he started bids, and he just explained the result of that. So he's bringing it back to the board as directed. Not sure how we get to the item, the conclusion that the issue is dead. So this is an item that has been before us for a while. We all agree that we need that service. We discuss it many times. The only discussion is who's to provide the service. And we've just heard the process that we've been through. So I don't know what it means die. Even if you argue that it died, I mean, if the board puts it back on the agenda, it comes back to life. I mean, I'm not sure you understand. You don't die forever. So
no, what I was trying to say, Chairman, we went through the process with this legally, right? And it died through the process. So now you want to start it back up without going back out. It's like you're doing a sole source in a sense. So you're circumventing the process. You're circumventing the process because you're forcing us as trustees to vote on this today again. So you're doing favoritism for this particular group. It needs to go back out to bid for 3 more bids if it's possible, but it needs to go back out. It died. And it's not as it died forever. Yeah, it died forever because it didn't get the proper votes. The same way when I make a motion and I don't get a second, it dies forever. Yes.
Okay. We have a request on the table. I'll entertain a motion for any further discussion.
I have further discussion, Chair. I would also say this, since Mr. Nibbs indicated that the doc has some problems with WAPA this week. They're going to probably have problems next week because these same individuals who are prior WAPA people like yourself, and these problems haven't gone away. It's just been a total collapse of mismanagement of the funding and mismanagement of the personnel of that system. You just read a letter today from them owing us money on their obligations for the employees. So nothing hasn't changed. You still have the same players. It's just musical chairs. You're going to get the same results. So now you took it from WAPA and you want to bring it over here to the GERS, which is already in a crisis. I'm just not seeing the logic with that, unless it's just a connection you have as a chair.
You're treading on some very dangerous personal grounds. So keep talking.
Yeah. So I thought we was in a discussion phase with Mr. Nibbs about, I suspect he did the request for production, a request for proposal, and he got whatever he got, and I wanted to discuss that so that we could approach this as, you know, a initiative sponsored by the system. So I want to go into discussion. Mr. Dorsey wants to challenge the process of it being on the agenda. I'm not there yet. I just want to discuss and hear from Mr. Nibbs on what actually we voted on. And are we there? If we're not there, fine. But when we reach there, I want to discuss the project.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Nibbs. I mean, just as a background, this is a project that, as I said, that was presented to an investment committee. We had a long discussion on it in the committee. We had a presentation by the principals. At the committee meeting, it was determined that we will call a special board meeting because of the perceived urgency. We called a special board meeting and what happened? We didn't get a quorum, Mr. Nils, what?
We didn't get the special board meeting. Trustee Dorsey mentioned that we should be following procurement regulations, that there should be at least a minimum.
Yeah, the special board meeting, we determined, Trustee Russell, that we should put it out for bid.
Yes.
So the question was never about the project itself. I mean, I think we've been discussing this project for a long time. I think we all at least most of board members believe that it's a worthy project. So the question was about the process of the selection. At the special board meeting, it was decided that it should go out for 3 bids. Yeah. Mr. Nibs could take it from there. What happened?
Yes.
Well, we did submit. We submitted. We solicited bids. We advertised in the newspapers, along with a JFL development contract, which also did not go out to bid prior to the special meeting, and we also did that at the same time. In this current proposal, the proposal we're speaking to, there were 2 inquiries, and those persons inquired and they didn't understand, and we told them exactly what we were looking for as far as technical assistance. One was thinking about the hardware part of it, which is like just a generator, and this was not an RFP to supply or procure generators. It's for technical assistance. And there was another person just inquiring as to what it was and what we're planning to do and things like that. And I told them. And I got the HKT also resubmitted their proposal. So
I ready to discuss the resubmitted proposal with AT because, okay, they're the only person that responded, and I accept that. And so to move forward, we got to discuss something with them, what they offering us.
Well,
that's what I mean. I guess Mr. Nips could jump in, but
we came in. This has been going on for quite some time. I think from back in May, we contacted because we had sent out an RFP for the equipment and generators, and we pulled it back because we said that we jumped the gun because the responses were not the way what we expected it to be. So everyone knows of this person who is HKT principal, and I reached out and I started asking questions because we needed to have a load factor. We didn't know what a load factor was. The person who maintained the generator, which is not our generator, it belongs to WICO, didn't know what a load factor was. We asked WAPA to assist us with that information. We got some information from them. Subsequently to that, we also asked WAPA to be our owner's rep, the same thing that we are seeking right now. They claim that they didn't have the individuals on board to do that type of work. They didn't have it. So we reached out to former members who are employees of WAPA. This person has a company, and he came and he gave a presentation to us in the Ravenside Mall Oversight Committee. We also invited him. We came to the board. We told the board about it. For the investment, I'm not too sure. We invited him to the investment committee to give a presentation, and that's how it evolved.
So he's a local business. He's a local business, right?
Yes, it's local. I mean, I don't want to put people's name.
No.
I know what Trustee Dorsey is quivering about. That's a personal issue.
Yeah, wait.
Not a business decision.
No, wait. We making
that is not a true statement. I'd like to correct the record. I do not have a personal issue. I'm a trustee representing the plan. And I'll put this out there too. I need to know if our board counsel, as well as the counsels, the two legal counsels of the system have done their due diligence on the proposed company as well. I'd like to know that too.
Okay, before you get there, I am engaging.
Well, Mr. Nibbs is making it personal, so I'm just sending it back.
Mr.
I don't have no
Nibbs,
problem with that.
I talking to about.
Trustee Russell, the reason why I said that is because names were called and individuals, what their function was called and stated by Trustee Dorsey. There are four, there's one principal on this project and a project manager, and he has created a team of 4 other specialists. That's all it is.
Mr. Nibbs.
That's not a correct statement. You got to go back to the tape. That was recorded. That was recorded at the Port Authority conference room. You need to go back to the tape. What you just said is incorrect.
Okay, Dorsey, give
That's
me a
incorrect.
chance. Give me a chance, okay? Mr. Nibbs, okay, so give me some time frames of this company. I think every board member agreed that we need to upgrade our property and the power generation, and we need to do it. I don't think there was any problem with the need. Now I want Mr. Nibbs a time frame that we would follow if we adopt the proposal. What is the time frame that you envision?
Well, the company gave us a time frame as to, and that was submitted to the board. All of that information was submitted to the board. We were supposed to have done this, at least the engineering design and, you know, of the project and the strategic by October this year. We were sort of completed that so that we could have at least part of the plan was to at least get some type of backup generation power before we got into the development of the strategic plan with solar and all of that.
Right. Okay. So is that time frame still viable since we had a delay?
Well, obviously, it would.
It would what? It would delay.
It would delay. The time frame would have to be changed. It have to be pushed forward. I'm just talking based on what was presented to us and the dates and the time frame. So if this was supposed to be completed by October, in a few weeks, it'll be October next week. So that means that you're looking now, you're pushing it towards either December or January.
And does that change the cost to the GRS system?
The cost, you mean, for the contract?
Yes.
Well, I'm not too sure, because what we did, we asked, we said a not to exceed.
Oh, okay. And so any delay on our decisions should not increase the cost that is the not to exceed, as you're saying?
Right, and I don't know what projects this company has now in their portfolio. I mean, you know, I know that the company does business in the Caribbean. The person does business, the company, and I'm not sure what other projects he have. I mean, he's not going to wait around for us to make a decision. He, you know, probably have other projects. So he would have to give us, if he's selected, they would have to give us a new timeline. But I would think that the not to exceed cost would remain the same.
Okay. Thank you very much. I would default to other questions.
Trustee Russell, it's unfortunate you're getting half a story here today. That's why I asked to meet as a board. You know, you're getting half a story. We got other things here pending that can actually take care of that situation at no additional cost to the plan. However, you guys want to move forward with it, we can. And the other trustees that were at that meeting knows that, because that was a question I asked without getting into detail. I asked that question, but we were talking about infrastructure improvements at that same location. So you're getting half a story today. And it's not right. It's not right. It's not fair to you as a trustee coming on new.
Yeah,
it's not fair.
We are asking about other infrastructure improvement with the other side. We know that. And we need to have a consultant to determine what would be needed, obviously, if that is going to be on our grid.
Mr. Nibbs, you know that's happening simultaneously, and we need to stop putting the cart before the horse. This is how we get ourselves in problems.
Yeah.
If we didn't have other options, that's one thing. But we have a viable option.
Okay.
We have a viable option from a reputable individual, and we just need to let it run its course.
We have
I don't know.
we have an item on the agenda. We have the a request from Mr. Nibbs to authorize to enter into the contract as proposed. We have vetted that proposal for many hours and several different venues. It's time to call for a vote.
I have a point of information, again, clarification.
I want to call.
Chair, I asked a question earlier of the three councils that are online today, if they have done their due diligence on this company based on what was presented to us at the Port Authority conference room. That's all I asked. Because what Mr. Nibbs stated is different than what was stated in the conference room.
Could you refresh my memory what was discussed in the conference room?
I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay.
So
the company discussed, I don't have a problem discussing it, Mr. Chair. The company discussed their organizational structure. What Mr. Nibbs is talking about today is a whole different organizational structure. So I asked the councils here, there's three of them. Up to now, they haven't answered. I asked again, have you done your due diligence? That's part of how this process works. Why will we as trustees be voting on something and something wasn't done as part of the process? That's part of the RFP process.
I need to, Attorney Williams, do you want to respond?
Good afternoon. I have not been involved in this process. I have not been asked to conduct any due diligence on an entity known as HKT Energy Group. So I have not done any due diligence on that entity.
Well, that obviously would have to come to the chair for you, Attorney Williams, but we have the administrator who has two councils.
I need to call for a vote on this issue.
Okay, Mr. Bauer, if I may, I have done what due diligence I could for the public information. I did not find any information contrary to what we were told in the meeting with the company. The one person is the principal, the other people are part of the team. And they have other, I've been able to see the projects that they have going. And as I said, I didn't find anything different from what we were told.
May I have a motion on this item, please?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Before we move for the motion, I have a question for Attorney Williams. Attorney Williams, is it normal for when GERS have projects like this that you are left out of it completely?
Attorney Williams was at the meetings.
He was at the meetings?
That's correct. He was at a meeting, investment committee meeting.
But he said, if I respond, when you say left out of it completely, Mr. Nibbs is correct that I was at the meeting. I haven't done any research. I think the question posed by Trustee Dorsey is whether any of the councils had done any due diligence. And my response was, I have not been asked to do that, so I haven't done it. I believe Attorney Smith indicated she did some degree of due diligence, and she indicated what her due diligence inquiry disclosed. So when you asked if I've been left out, I wasn't complaining that I was being left out. I've read the proposal, I've seen it, but I haven't done anything in response to it because I hadn't been asked to do anything.
But in your opinion, in representing the board, what do you think about a proposal? Is it something that you recommend to the board?
I think the scope of what needs to be done is something that the system needs to do. They need somebody to provide them with technical assistance for developing an energy plan or energy approach as it relates to Havenside Mall. I think the question is whether this is the appropriate company to do it. You've only had one response to the RFP. So I read that, or I conclude from that there's not a whole lot of companies out there that are willing to provide this service. Now, part of that may be how wide the inquiry was, and I don't know what the answer is to that. That's something that you could inquire into. And, you know, there's no telling that if you were to put it out for bid again, that you'll get any more inquiries. Obviously, time is of the essence given the energy concerns or needs of the entire territory, and particularly Havenside Mall. So those, I think, are some of the factors that the trustees need to consider, obviously, as well as the cost.
Okay, thank you.
So, is there a motion for the board to deal with this request?
Chair, I would say this, that I still think the board needs to have a discussion among ourselves with council. I don't think we should be voting on this. I think we need to have the executive session discussion on the issue.
Okay. In that discussion, Mr. Dorsey and board members, I am not too sure we have that kind of time, because WAPA is simply mashing up St. Thomas. And I don't know how board members think about it, but I cannot accept what WAPA is doing to this economy in the Virgin Islands, this tourism. I think it's atrocious, and I'm ready to do something to help our system. So I would have to, I have to support the measure as it move forward, simply because I don't think we have the time.
We're here today, Trustee Russell. We're here today. We have executive session on the agenda, so we have the time. And truth be said, these are the principals from the same agency in a different capacity. So you really expecting a difference, I guess. That's what you're saying. But like I said, Trustee Russell, you weren't there, so we need to discuss it in executive session. You need to discuss it in executive session. You still with us, Russell?
I'm here, but
yeah, it needs to be discussed in executive session. You don't have all the information, so you're speaking from a disadvantage. You were not there.
Yeah, I speak in from the fact that it went out to bid. We only have one bidder, and the urgency of the system is my concern to deal with WAPA. And this is, from my understanding, and I don't have a full understanding, it is to transfer, you know, our reliance on WAPA energy to other sources that we need to have. But anyhow, I default to other trustees and how they vote, and I vote accordingly.
All I'm saying, Russell, you were not there. You need to go into executive session so we can speak about it freely. What is the hold up in going to executive session?
Yeah, well,
we can do that anytime.
Yeah, Chairman Bauer is here. You could ask him.
But
we can do that
Chairman,
now.
I have a question to Mr. Dorsey.
Go ahead.
My question, sir, is do you believe discussing this matter in executive session would change anything?
I do.
Would it, the change, would the change be something that is, that would be contrary to what we're doing now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, sir. So it's just a matter.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I have been privy to Trustee Dorsey's comments. We have looked at this thing. We have done our own investigation. We have had the same thing before, prior years, as to what we are here now, at least 2 times that I remember. And it went through without any problem. Okay? So, I mean, I don't even know that, I know 1 or 2 of the individuals.
does the board want to, does the
But-
board want to move this to executive session?
I don't know, I mean.
I'm asking the board member.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that simply because Trustee Dorsey might, I don't know the information, and we could make the same decision in our executive session. If whatever we gonna make, we could make it in our executive session, and if he is interested in doing it that way, I could agree with that.
Well, I'm concerned about losing a quorum.
Oh, okay.
Let's make a motion, get a motion to.
I move that the discussion regarding this matter be immediately moved to executive session.
Second.
Trustee Carwood,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger. Trustee Liger,
Not voting.
not voting. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Russell,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes,
5 yes, 1 not voting, 1 absent.
okay. So do we mean that we take care of the last item first, or we go?
We could do it now, because we could do it now.
So you want to move? Okay, so,
What are we doing now? We need to finish the agenda and then go into executive session.
Okay, you want
Correct.
to, that's fine.
right,
Okay.
so the next item on the agenda is where are we?
Item on the agenda is approval of the F-2022 budget.
Okay. And then we have the ratification of the poll vote.
Yes, sir. Unless
Okay.
you want, if you want to reorder it, you know, I think time is of the essence.
Yeah, I'd like to reorder it to the ratification of poll vote now. And then we could move into executive session. And then if we have time, we come back out and deal with the other items. Do I need a motion for that?
Sir. I don't know.
I mean,
Tony
you
Williams,
don't necessarily need a motion. You could move that. If there are no objections, then that's what it is. If somebody object, then you'll have a motion and a vote.
Okay, so
You can
if
use your chair's discretion.
there's no objection, I'd like to do the ratification of the poll vote and then go into executive session to deal with the others. So ratification of the poll vote. What's that? That just need I just need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move,
Explanation of the poll vote. And what prompted the poll vote?
Trustee Russell, what occurred, the same thing like the HFT. Like I said, on the July 29th meeting, a motion was made by Dorsey and second by yourself that to open up the bidding process for a minimum of 3 proposals. JFL, because we had done business with them before at the Havenside Mall, we reached out to them. However, subsequently, the board voted to let's follow the process. So we did. We submitted, we did, solicit through an RFP. And from I can be corrected. I think only one person inquired.
Issue, could I jump in? The issue of the poll vote.
Well, the issue of the poll vote is because of the timeline and the need to move forward. Because if we're thinking about a plan development, there's certain timeline in place to get to arrive at a ground lease. Okay, so I put it the same thing, the pressure upon us to perform and to move forward with these projects. That's the reason I requested a poll vote, so that at least we can have the contract signed, by the end of the month.
The issue with the poll vote is that these items were on the last board agenda. That meeting was canceled for lack of a quorum. Then I'm assuming Mr. Nibbs requested from the chairman for a poll vote. The chairman agreed, and then the poll vote was sent out.
Is that a normal procedure used by this system? Mr. Williams, Attorney Williams.
Well, I'm not sure how to define normal. I can tell you that the poll votes have been done in the past. Generally, poll votes are done if there's an emergency or critical issue that needs to be dealt with, particularly if there are time frames or monies, or if something is in litigation and you need settlement authority, those types of things. Or, again, the chairman could always use his or her discretion to determine whether something is critical enough that he or she feels that we need a vote of the entire board before the next board meeting or before a special meeting can be had.
Okay.
This issue flows out of the same original committee meeting that we had, which led to, because of the urgency, we decided to do a special board meeting. We did the special board meeting. At the special board meeting, it was decided to go out for bid. We went out for bid, and so we put it on the next board meeting. So we didn't get it accomplished. Keep in mind that the reason we called for the special board meeting is because everybody considered it urgent matter. It didn't happen in a special board meeting, so it went to the next board meeting. The next board meeting, we lost a quorum, so we never established a quorum. So we didn't have it. So this is the same issue that's considered critical enough and urgent enough to call a special board meeting. It didn't happen in a special board meeting. We put it to the next general board meeting. It didn't happen in the next general board meeting. So that was the reason for calling the poll vote. I mean, the poll vote by definition is not a normal process. So it's not unclear to me what you mean, but it's a normal process. I mean, almost by definition, a poll vote is not normal. But we have, if the question is that poll vote has been used before, yes, we have been used before, and basically when we're running out of time, when time is of issue.
I only suggest that because COVID might have modified some of these positions. People couldn't meet, so they might use a poll vote, you know what I mean? And that is a question only limited to how COVID affected, because I don't like poll votes. I believe people should meet. But, and it's an extraordinary process, but I didn't know
Not
if,
only that, Mr. Zemba, we did meet.
yeah,
We met in committee.
yes,
We met in a special board meeting.
yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's not like the board members weren't vetted on this thing.
Yeah, but, yeah, so, okay. Attorney Williams, we said, I'm all right with it. And the only question I would have is, now the real vote on the matter is coming up. The poll vote is really a vote on the substantive issue that was before the board a while back, right, Ms. Tony Williams?
Well, based on the poll vote, a majority of the board agreed to the issues. So all you're doing is ratifying that vote.
Okay, it wasn't ratified. That's my issue. What?
No, it was voted. My understanding, and either Ms. Coley or Mr. Nips could correct me, for the items for the JLL and the Casino Control Commission signage, there was at least 4 votes in the affirmative to approve those items, which is why it is now before you for ratification. So those items were approved by at least 4 affirmative votes.
Oh, I thought it was not. Okay.
No, the HKT proposal only got 3 votes. So therefore that one was not approved, but the other 2 were. You follow me?
I follow you.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, we're doing a ratification and the poll vote for the 2 companies, and then the HHT goes to executive. Is that how we move forward?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, so we need a motion to ratify the poll votes. Should we do them separately or the 2 together?
You should do them separately because we're going to have resolutions for them.
Okay. So we need a motion to ratify the poll vote with respect to the LLP?
JLL.
JLL. Proposal.
Mr. Chair, I move that we ratify the poll vote on the JLL proposal. I so move.
Second.
Moved and
Is
seconded.
that Mr. Dorsey?
Yes.
All right.
Moved and seconded. Roll
Trustee
call.
Calwood,
Yes.
trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
trustee Liger. Trustee Liger,
Yes.
thank you. Trustee McDonald,
Yes.
absent. Okay, thank you, we got it. Trustee Russell,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, so we need one for the Casino Control Commission signage.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I move that we vote to ratify the poll vote for the Casino Control Commission signage. I so move.
Second.
Can I hear a second?
Yeah,
Second.
Dorsey, trustee Dorsey, seconded.
Okay, so roll call.
Trustee Calwood,
Yes.
trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
trustee Liger. Trustee Liger,
Yes.
thank you. Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Russell,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, so at this point, we will move into executive session. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we,
Motion.
yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Trustee Russell.
okay, I move that we retreat to executive session to consider the proposal that's submitted on the agenda.
Okay, Attorney Russell, can you read what's on the agenda? We need to have those reasons cited to justify the reasons for going into executive session.
The agenda, okay, let me get the agenda. I don't have the agenda at my hand right here. So so could somebody supplement that motion with the actual agenda item that we were discussing when we agreed to go into executive session? I don't have it at hand. I was juggling two screens for different reasons.
But Attorney Williams, you can read out the agenda items.
Yes, I will. The portion
Thank
of
you.
the meeting will be closed to the public for matters pertaining to trade secret or financial or commercial information or personal legal matters or matters whose premature disclosure will frustrate the implementation of the proposed agency action.
Yes, we're discussing some personal matters, and I think
So is that your motion, Mr. Russell?
Well, I could let Dorsey supplement this motion, please.
Second.
Second by Smith.
Okay, Dorsey, you modify my motion because we need in executive order. Executive session.
Wait. This is a motion to go into executive session.
Yes.
So you don't need anybody to modify that.
Attorney Williams, what you just stated.
What I stated is the reasons for going into executive session pursuant to your motion.
And I stated which one it was.
I don't understand what you mean, which one it was. When you go into executive sessions, you're going to discuss all the items that are on the agenda for executive sessions, plus the item you just added, which is the HKT energy proposal.
That's it. And we only got into executive session to discuss that. I don't need to discuss any other matters in executive session.
No, we have an executive session agenda. We have other items in executive session on the agenda.
Okay, well, maybe it's
we just be adding that one to
yes. Well, then Attorney Williams, it's only to merge that item with the executive session items that we already have.
No,
I understand. All I was saying is that for the record,
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to go into executive session in regards to what Attorney Williams just read, to hear legal matters and personal matters.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think this is what Attorney Williams is saying. Attorney Williams is trying to say we need to give a legal reason why we are going into executive session. And it is written there, it says, this portion of the meeting will be closed to the public for matters pertaining to trade secrets or financial or commercial information or personal or legal matters or matters whose premature discussion will frustrate the implementation of the proposed action. Is that what you were looking for, Attorney Williams?
Well, I found it, I read it.
But he said it, and anyway, I gotta leave 1 o'clock. That is, I mean, we're taking 10 and 15 minutes on this issue. Does this really make any sense at all?
But the only problem is whenever we are going into executive session, we must read that part.
Read that language, correct.
Yes, and it did.
How many times we have second on it?
don't need a second on that. You need a second to go into executive session.
That's what I did. That's what we did, Mr. Liger.
Russell made a motion, Smith
Did not
second.
read.
I gotta leave.
Please, Ms. Smith, don't leave.
I really can't. I'm not able to this thing.
No, I mean, the standard language, and it's written on the agenda, that we have to use to go into executive session. What we're trying to accomplish is just to move into executive session. We're not even talking about what we're going to talk about when we get there. This is no. Huh? This is a motion to go into executive session. And there's some required language that we need to use to stay in compliance with the law for going into executive session. And it's written out there. So I think Trustee Russell made a motion to go into executive session. And I think he has given at least one of the reasons, one of the listed reasons he has given. So I'm not sure what the argument is about at this point. The language gives several.
I think, Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I believe in the past, the way it was done in the past, when the chairman make the motion to go into executive session, he reads this part and then asks for a motion.
Okay. So I ask for a motion to enter into executive session because the items to be discussed will be closed to the public because they might involve trade secrets and or financial, commercial information or personal or legal matters or matters whose premature disclosure will frustrate the implementation of the proposed agency action.
Correct. That's
okay.
Correct.
And Mr. Russell says so moved.
So
yes.
Moved. So
right.
moved.
And do I have a second?
I second.
Trustee Smith seconded initially.
Okay, all right, no problem.
So roll call.
Trustee Colwood,
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
Trustee Liger,
Yes.
Trustee McDonald, absent. Trustee Russell,
Yes.
Trustee Smith, Trustee Smith. Okay.
Okay.
Absent. Chairman Barry,
Yes.
5 yes, 2 absent.
Okay, so we're officially in executive session. Which means that we need to disconnect all those who are not privy to executive session discussions.
Okay, well, Mr. Bowery, it depends on what item that's being discussed, whether or not some of us will stay.
Well, it's staff.
Yeah, I was talking about the
Other than staff.
Yeah.
other than staff.
But I need to know to contact the person who's going to be, that's listed on item number 1. So we're gonna do number 1 first.
Is
The
number
first
1 with the HSC contract?
First thing I want to do is the HKT contract.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he keep him online.
Okay.
All right, can we have a little 5 or 3 minute break? Let me clean up those who belong in here and come out a little bit live.
Okay, so we'll give him an opportunity to disconnect those who not privy to executive session.